What's up, YouTube? T Movies here. With Angel Has Fallen Hindiers this week, since it features Nick Nolte as Gerard Butler's dad, I decided to go ahead and do my top 10 favorite Nick Nolte movies. Because the guy's been acting for decades. The guy has worked with some of the greatest directors. He's an awesome actor. I believe. Oh, he's also an Oscar-nominated actor, and the guy also has probably one of the coolest celebrity mugshots there is. Yeah, probably definitely the coolest celebrity mugshot. But anyway, with that being said, here's my 10 favorite Nick Nolte movies, and I gotta hurry this up because my computer's about to die. So Godspeed this trip. All right, coming in at number 10 is going to be the Walter Hill directed film Extreme Prejudice. Now it stars Nick Nolte as his Texas Ranger named Jack Bentain, who has taken a very different path than his childhood buddy. Like, his childhood buddy is now this ruthless drug lord named Cash Bailey, played by the late great Paris Booth. And so they're like very on different opposite sides of the law. While Jack is a Texas Ranger, while Cash Bailey is a ruthless drug lord. And so in it, they also have a relationship with the same woman named
Hey, you okay? No, I'm not okay.
Ja-
I'm really not fucking okay.
She has.
She is so fucking disturbing. I'm really not okay. I'm really not okay. I don't know.
Anyway,
She is so fucking
sorry about that, guys. Anyway, they are also in a very open relationship with this. They're actually in a relationship with the same woman named Sarita, played by this actress Maria Conchita Alonso, and tensions ends up happening between the two, and there's like a love triangle that intertwines between the two, and they also end up playing key roles when they in like a major narcotic bust. So there's that too. So a fierce showdown happens between the two, and they also try to win the lady's heart and all. I mean, Nick Nolte and Paris Booth were both great in this. The film was directed by Walter Hill, who I thought did a really cool job with this. I love Walter Hill. If you guys never seen The Warriors, awesome film. Of course, Walter Hill have worked with Nick Nolte before too, and I'm gonna get to that later on. But yeah, tensions between the two really intertwined. This is a part of crime film. I If you really want to look at it, it's also like it's part Western too. If you really want to look at it that way as well. Yeah, Extreme Prejudice. Walter Hill did a really cool job at directing this film, and yeah, if you guys haven't seen Extreme Prejudice by now, go check it out. It's a really good one. All right, number. All right, coming in at number 9 for my favorite Nick Nolte films is a film called Affliction. Now, the film is directed by a taxi driver writer, Paul Schrader, and of course, it's based on a book by Russell Banks. And in it, Nick Nolte plays this sheriff named Wade Whitehouse, who's pretty much a sheriff of a small New Hampshire town. And like on the job, he also smokes pot and drinks a lot as well. And he also is hated by his ex-wife, and his daughter also looks up to him as if he was crazy and all. And he also has a abusive father, played by James Coburn, who was pretty good in this. Who's also an alcoholic. So you can see how. So you can see how Wade kind of got his drinking habits from. And anyway, and also his ex-wife is played by Mary Beth Hurt, who did a good job here. You also got this, and you also got this hunted guy named Jack Hewitt, played by Jim True, who also is who's pretty much a streak as a outlaw and all. And so like so there's also reports that about a businessman's accidental death. So Wade ends up trying to solve the investigation behind the murder and all. And you also had the great William Dafoe. Sissy Spacek was in this. Who doesn't love a good William Dafoe performance? Yeah, really interesting crime thriller. I mean, there's times where Nick Nolte's character is not really that likable, but Nick Nolte plays that role really well. I mean, it's really Nick Nolte. It's really Nolte playing Nolte, you know. So what more could you ask for there? But yeah, if you guys if you guys haven't seen Affliction yet, it's a really decent one. All right, now speaking of Nick Nolte movies based on a novel, coming in at number 8 is going to the Prince of Tides. Directed by Barbara Streisand, who also stars in the film as pretty much Nick Nolte's psychiatrist. And in it, Nick Nolte stars as this football coach named Tom Wingo, who's also grappling with his family's tragic history with the help of his psychiatrist named Susan Lounstein, played by Barbara Streisand. And the film is also based on a book by Pat Conroy. And you also got a cool narration by Nick Nolte, and there's like flashbacks, looking at flashbacks of his wife and his kids and all. And his wife is also played by Blythe Danner. His twin sister is played by Melinda Dillon, who's also a poet. And in it, Melinda Dillon's character is a poet who is trying to who ends up attempting suicide at first. So there's that too, and you also got Barbara Streisand's character who's trying to grapple with her family situation as well. Like she has a cheating husband here. She also has a prodigy son, played by this kid named Jason Gold, who's also the son of both Streisand and Elliot Gold, who I always keep forgetting those two were married. But yeah, this is an interesting. This is also a part romance film, a part melodrama. Um, Great performances by Streisand and Nolte. I mean, if you guys haven't seen Prince of Tides yet, go check it out. It's a really good one. All right, coming in at number 7 is going to Down and Out in Beverly Hills. Now, the film is about this unlikely homeless guy named Jerry, played by Nick Nolte, who pretty much wants to attempt suicide because he doesn't really like his life anymore. So he ends up sneaking into a stranger's backyard and tries to drown himself in the pool. And so, you got the pool's owner, who's a white-collar businessman named Dave, played by Richard Dreyfuss, who ends up pulling him out of the water and bringing him into his home. And he ends up taking up the guy in, and there's also a friendship that intertwines between them, and you also got Bette Midler, who also plays Richard Dreyfuss's wife. I thought Bette Midler was really cool in this. This movie, not to mention, you also got the late Elizabeth Pena. She was great in this too. And
out here on the free Wi-Fi.
and in it, Barbara and Dave Wyman, played by the aforementioned Rich Dreyfuss and Bette Miller, are very like rich, but they are not very happy as well because Dave is a hardworking businessman, while his wife, her only interest is in yoga, aerobics, and other meditation classes and all. And the husband also sleeps with the housemaid, not to mention as well. And their son is also very confused about his sexuality, while their daughter is suffering from eating disorder as well. So this part, like, so when Jerry ends up jumping into the pool to try to commit suicide and all, uh, that pretty much changes their lives and all, and they end up being friends with the guy, and it's a really interesting, funny. It's a really nice, funny, charming little film. Great performances by Richard Dreyfuss, by Bette Midler, as well as Nick Nolte. Elizabeth Payne was great in this. This is a 1980s classic, so yeah, if you guys haven't seen Down and Out in Beverly Hills yet, go check it out. It's a really good one. All right, coming in at number 6 is going to a film called The Thief. Now, this film is actually written by the author of Jaws, so that's pretty cool there. And also features Robert Shaw. I mean, speaking of Jaws, and in it, it's about these scuba divers named Dave Sanders and Gail Burke, played by Nick Nolte and Jacqueline Bisset, who are assisted by Romer Treese, played by Robert Shaw, and they end up discovering a sunken treasure off the Bermuda coast and all. And they also find a stash of narcotics as well. And so Dave and Gail end up spending the rest of the picture avoiding the bad guys who also stash the drugs. And they also want the treasure as well. I mean,
It's not what we're doing right now.
anyway, yeah, it was directed by Bullet director Pierre Yates. It also features, Louis Gossett Jr. was in this. Eli Wash. I mean, it's a really interesting drill ride. It's really fun. It's entertaining. It's kind of dumb at times, but I mean, it's a really an action movie in underwater. How cool is that right there? And come on, Jacqueline Bisset, she looked really good back in the day. I mean, come on. But anyway, yeah, if you guys haven't seen The Deep yet, it's a really decent one. I mean, the guy who did this directed Bullet after all and Breaking Away, so that's all you. That's really much all you really need to hear. All right, coming in at number 5. This is gonna be unpopular opinion, but I sort of actually like this movie more than most people do, and that's going to Ang Lee's Hulk. I know lots of people do not like Ang Lee's Hulk at all, but I quite enjoyed it. I mean, Eric Bana, I thought he was a great Hulk. You had Nick Nolte as Bruce Banner's dad, who's very brilliant, and he wants to like pass his legacy, his tragic legacy, to his son. And Nick Nolte's his character ends up dying throughout the film as well, so he doesn't have that. Like he has some interesting screen time, but I really good. But I really quite enjoy Hulk. It's really fun. Hulk. Um, Eric Bana. I really like him as Hulk. Ed Norton was cool too, and Mark Ruffalo is cool, but Eric Bana doesn't get that much credit as the Hulk. I thought he played that role really well. And you also had Sam Elliott was also in this. Jennifer Connelly. And I liked his I really like Nick Nolte and Eric Bana's chemistry together. Their chemistry was really decent. And yeah, if you guys haven't seen Hulk yet, go check it out. It's a really good one. All right, coming in at number 4 is going to Jefferson in Paris. Now, it stars Nick Nolte as Thomas Jefferson, who ends up accepting the post of the United States ambassador to pre-revolution Francois. And he also falls in love with this artist named Maria Coswell, played by Greta Scalici. And his daughter ends up visiting from Virginia as well. And his daughter is played by Gwyneth Paltrow. And you also got Tandy New was in this. James Earl Jones. It was also directed by the writer of Call Me by Your Name. So there's that too. Nick Nolte was a great Thomas Jefferson. I thought he played Thomas Jefferson really well. He really embodied the role, and also Greta was really great. Gwyneth Paltrow. It was like one of one of Gwyneth Paltrow's breakout roles back in the days. Really interesting film. I mean, odd this movie didn't get well received. Kind of odd it didn't get well received when it got released, but hey, it's still a pretty decent one. Alright, coming in at number 3 is going to Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear. Now, it stars Nick Nolte as this attorney named Sam Bowden, who ends up, who pretty much ends up withdrawing evidence that would acquit a violent sex offender named Max Cady, played by Robert De Niro, of rape charges. And so Max ends up pretty much spending 14 years in prison, but when Max ends up getting released, he ends up knowing about Sam's deceit, and he ends up devoting his life to stalking and destroying the family. And it's also directed by, it's also a remake of a 1962 thriller with Robert Mitchum, who, by the way, Mitchum also has a part in this too, so that's pretty cool as well. This is definitely a remake that's really better than the original. Great performances by De Niro, by Nick Nolte. Very young Juliette Lewis was in this. Jessica Lange was here. Really good film. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. Alright, coming in at number 2 is going to Warrior. Now, not to be confused with the aforementioned The Warriors. This is Warrior, and it's pretty much about these two brothers who ends up competing in a MMA ring together, and they got and the dad is an alcoholic who ends up coming into their life and also becomes like their mentor as well. And of course, the two leads are played by Tom Hardy and Joe Egerton. Jennifer Morrison was in this. Frank Grillo. I'm not that much of an MMA guy, but I love the MMA fight scenes in this, and the chemistry with Tom Hardy and Joe Egerton was great. Nick Nolte scored a Oscar nomination for this, if I'm not mistaken. Nick Nolte was great in this. Really amazing film. Like, if you guys haven't seen Warrior yet, go give Warrior a go. It's a really terrific one. Alright, now Nick Nolte's best work of all time also goes to a Walter Hill film, and that is the classic 48 Hours. Starring pretty much a cop who teams up with this bank robber named Reggie Hammond, played by Eddie Murphy, and it's really great chemistry with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte, and you got James Raymer as pretty much Hammond's old partner Albert Gans, who ends up escaping from a prison work crew, and Gans ends up going on a killing spree around San Francisco, and so Jack and Reggie has to team up to pretty much track Gans down and all. And this movie fun fact, this was actually Eddie Murphy's. It was actually Eddie Murphy's first feature film, believe it or not. So there's a little tidbit for you there. It was directed by Walter Hill, who did a great job at directing this. It's really funny. It has lots of great action. It's entertaining. Great chemistry with Nolte and Eddie Murphy. I mean, if you guys never seen 48 Hours, it's a really decent one. Alright, that's pretty much it. Let me do the quick rundown. Alright. 10. Extreme Prejudice. 9. Affliction. 8. Prince of Ties. 7. Down and Out in Beverly Hills. 6. The Deep. 5. Hulk. 4. Jefferson in Paris. 3. Cape Fear. 2. Warrior. 1. 48 Hours. Now, he also did like another 48 Hours. He did Blue. Okay, gotta get up because it's raining. Anyway, he also did Peaceful Warrior, Blue Chips, 3 Fugitives, Tropic Thunder. But my computer's about to die. It's literally about to rain, so I'll just call it for tonight. But let me leave to you guys. What are some of your favorite Nick Nolte movies? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is T Movies signing off.